Buckle up, man. In today's video, we got some Kiki Camarena, the DEA and CIA doing some crazy things. We got Nancy Guthrie updates. Somebody got a new show. We got the CIA exposing why they love conspiracies. We got all that coming up today, y'all. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
I actually met someone who worked at the CIA, and I asked him the question. I said, yo, it wasn't me, it was a friend of mine asked it while we were there. He said, how many conspiracy theories are true? And the guy laughed and he said, obviously I can't say anything to you, but he said, but I will tell you this. Oftentimes at the agency, we would be grateful. This was a really interesting phrase. He said, we would be grateful at how crazy conspiracy theorists were, because half the time they were correct, but half the time their conspiracies were so crazy that we never needed to like step in and balance. And it was this interesting concept to me where I went like, whoa. Wait, so half the things you think
are crazy.
Whatever you are, whoever you are in your world, half the things that you think are crazy are probably true.
Yes.
And then half the things that you think are true are probably crazy. The difficulty is we'll just never know.
Whoa, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that the president just called off strikes on Iran?
It's Iran.
Shut up. And then right after he called off these strikes, now Iran is arming children right now as we speak. You know, of course, 2 days after the whole fact of them saying they're going to circle Iran.
News alert, the president's been speaking with his national security team after calling off airstrikes at the last second.
How close were you striking Iran?
I was an hour away. The president's ordered his team to be prepared to bomb at a moment's notice. So it could happen tonight, Friday, whenever.
Up in each of these sort of squares where members of the military there, you can see them with masks on, they're showing people, in this case a woman, basic skills of how to use what I think is an AK-47.
Remember, the news told us months ago that Iran was arming every single citizen in their country, including the little ones. Of course, some stuff from AutoZone just got leaked and they're talking about we're about to face a national oil shortage. So we got the war with Iran, we got the aliens, we got the data centers, we got the mysterious fires. So many struggles, I mean, just pick one. Someone's getting in their way, and it's definitely not us. What do you think is first? Let me know in the comments. The alien invasion or the war?
So I just got my wife's medical bill for 3 days in the hospital, intensive care unit, so I understand. $621,743.47.
3 days.
Now, I don't think this includes the week at the other hospital she was in, as well as the cost of an airlift to this specific hospital, but yeah.
Yeah, these bills, I just had a baby. They don't stop coming. They're still coming. He's 2 months old. Still coming.
About masonry, this is masonry right here. This is equivalent to this. And this, when you read the Bible, when it describes the beast, is everything. The 4 crowns, the mouth of the lion, the 10 lions, the body of the leopard. When they describe the beast in Revelation, this is what they talk about. They talk about the British Empire. The little horn, the knight of the order, the unicorn, the eyes of man, you know what I mean? The crown of heaven, the 4 beasts. It's all there. So to show you, he put that there. See what I'm saying? They go to tunnel. They go to earth. They go Crowley. That's Aleister Crowley. He's showing you. Wow.
Michael Jackson.
They go to little black baby holding the skull of the Triceratops.
Much now.
Ball. Why does he look so demonic, and why does he have a kid in his hand?
That's because that's the way they made him.
Why does he look like
that was the statue
why does he look like a demon?
That's what their ball looked like. They made that.
So that's what he does look like?
Well, yes. Way back when. What they did is he was like this, and they had fire underneath him. They had behind him, they had a big fire.
Why is that? Because it representing hell?
Because they were sacrificing. They put the babies on the hands.
And that's who your God is.
My God?
Yeah,
that's Baal.
Yeah, and Baal's one of your gods, right?
Why do you keep saying that? I don't worship Baal. I have nothing to do with Baal.
Savannah, where's your mom? Where's your mother?
She's been missing for 3 months, and you just out here living that life, baby. You're just out here starting a new game show. You're the host, and you're so excited about it. Where's your mother? It was plastered over everything every time I opened my phone. And now the only thing I ever see is this new game show you're hosting. I could never be me.
This is very.
I called it, y'all. I called it. I said in the video when this was all going on, she's gonna get her own show. She's gonna do like she's gonna go to that next level because did she offer her mom? I don't know, y'all. There's a lot of stain ties and all these, you know, on that island ties with everything, interviews that magically happened, disappeared. You know that she had something to do with it because who's going to break in and steal an 80-year-old woman, you know, for no reason, right? Doesn't make sense. And now she's getting her own game show. She's probably going to become a movie star. You know, a lot of crazy, like, I called it.
Exciting. I have a big
It wasn't hard to see,
make.
right?
We've been developing Wordle as a game show for the past 2.5 years with the New York Times, and it's official. We are making Wordle game show with our host, Savannah Guthrie. Come on, Savannah.
Oh my gosh.
We can tell everybody.
I know. We've been holding this secret between us for like a long time now.
Yes.
And we're going to make Wordle a game show.
I'm so happy. It's you.
What other secrets are you hiding, girl? I would scorch the earth from top to bottom looking for my mother. There wouldn't be a safe soul on this planet until I found her or found what happened to her. And Savannah's just out here, oh my God, I'm the new host of a TV show, a Wordle, a game show. Girl, where is your mama?
When you were younger and you were hanging out with your mom, or you were just in the house with your mom, you and your mom chilling, y'all in the same environment, whatever, right? You live with your mother, right? Y'all go through a day. She's like, oh, I'm tired. I'm going to go take a nap. Wake me up in a couple of hours. Okay, cool. That's fine. Bro, my shit has always been, and once again, I don't know if this is me or not. I've never heard anybody else describe this feeling. But when your mom used to go to sleep back in the day, when she used to take a nap, it used to get dark. And like, I don't really know how to describe it, but there used to be like this dark feeling, bro. Like, not a feeling of evilness, not even really a feeling of emptiness. It was just like, it's so, I don't know how to explain it. And that's kind of what's fucking me up. That's like when I try to explain to people, they be like, yeah, we don't know what you're talking about. But it just used to get really dark. It used to get really cloudy. Like, then when she would wake up, everything would get bright and sunny again. I feel like I'm the only one that's experienced this, and it's driving me crazy. Even now, it's so crazy because I describe this feeling to people, and they don't really know. Like, nobody really understands what I'm talking about when I mention that feeling of darkness, that feeling of like being inside of a void. Like, I don't know how to describe it.
It's kind of like, even still to this day, like if I call and my dad picks up and oh, your mom's asleep, like, is she okay? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's still, it is, I get what he's saying. It's not like an evilness. It's not a darkness. It's like I don't know, just like moms don't nap. You know what I mean? Like, even though they do, but when they would go nap, you know, especially when you're little, you'd be like, kind of like sadness. Like, is she okay? Kind of feeling.
Ebola outbreak that is
if you-
happening
if
right
you- if
now
you know
just
what I
got
mean.
declared a global health emergency, and as of today, the United States has now banned travel from 3 different countries. There are over 300 total suspected cases across Congo and Uganda right now, and there is no approved vaccine and no treatment for this strain at all. They're saying that this is actually only the 3rd time that this strain has ever even shown up, and the existing Ebola vaccines don't even work.
Tonight, outbreaks of the deadly Ebola virus in 2 African countries have prompted the World Health Organization to declare a global health emergency.
It started in eastern Congo about 3 weeks ago, and since then it has spread to Congo's capital and crossed the border to Uganda. As of today, anybody that has been to Congo, Uganda, or South Sudan in the past 21 days is banned from entering the US. American citizens can come back, but they need to get screened before they're allowed in. The World Health Organization director declared it a global health emergency, and then in the same exact announcement said that it does does not meet the criteria to be a pandemic. There is no treatment and there is no vaccine for this strain, and the agency responding obviously just lost a quarter of their workforce. So are we good?
So this article popped up earlier today that this dude called the cops that there was zombies and ghosts and aliens and just fucking everything in his house, I guess. You know, the first thing I thought about when I saw this, it was drugs. He was on drugs.
That's what I was thinking right
This
now.
one obviously
Pass
made the news
that
because
shit.
it's humorous, because it was everything all at once. You know, but I sat around and think, how many times have people called 911 to report aliens or monsters or just anything like that? Remember in 2023 in Las Vegas when someone called the cops and said 10-foot aliens were in their backyard? A family in Las Vegas called 911 after claiming something crashed in their backyard. The caller sounded genuinely panicked and described 8 to 10 foot tall beings with big eyes. The caller said, they're not human, 100% they're not human. Or that one in North Carolina last year where some guy called the cops and said something jumped on the back of his truck and said, that's not human. I guess that's not human is important in 911 calls. You know, but I covered this entirely in another video, but the Hopkinsville Goblin incident, where 2 families in Kentucky ran into a police station claiming that little glowing goblin-like beings surrounded their farmhouse. The guy that called and said there was zombies and aliens at his house, he also said he was a police officer, and that wasn't true either. So they definitely arrested that guy for false reporting. But think about all the 911 calls that we don't know about where someone called in and said there was aliens at their house. You know, some of those cases were intoxication, but some of them could have been aliens.
I mean, there's so much that happened in rural, and it's like they made that deal. Remember with Eisenhower back in the day, we'll keep it out here in the outskirts, but they're starting to come into the city, into, you know, the Miami Mall, high populated area, the Vegas backyard, the Kentucky, like they're starting to, it seems like making their presence known now. It's becoming mainstream. It's not a crazy conspiracy theory no more. Just like that first clip we saw the CIA saying, you know, half the conspiracies are real and half of them are just too out there, and those ones that are too out there are good for the CIA because it makes those ones, you know, it makes the ones that are actually real. We can just use those crazy ones and say they're not. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's like they're making their presence known now.
Far out, but like in between.
But we're already pretty far out.
The initiation, the first degree and the third degree, I would get phone calls from 666 numbers all the time. We want your soul, like just demonic voices. I want your soul. That's kind of nonsense.
So Satan called your cell.
I mean, I don't know if if it was Satan or the CIA, but someone with a 666 number that sounded satanic called my cell and would be like, "We want your soul." And I would just laugh and I'd be like, "Okay, I mean, it's not mine to give. You know, my soul belongs to God. I can't help you." Basically, I don't know what.
I think I'm jumpier than you because if I was, you know, in between degrees in the Masons and Satan started calling me, I would drop out.
Yeah, I'd be freaked out.
Okay, if you can see floaters or have floaters in your eyes, there's a theory that these are actual interdimensional beings that you might be able to communicate with. Watch this. Disclaimer, I'm not saying I'm 100% believing in this. I read about it and I'm going to experiment with it and I will report back. But here's the theory. So there's this book that you can Google called Spiritual Dimensions of Eye Floaters. In it, it talks about how doctors say that eye floaters are just harmless little things that you should not pay attention to. The guy in the book says otherwise. He says that these floaters are the first appearance of luminous spheres, which he calls the light of consciousness. He talks about if you concentrate on these floaters, they can provide an exit from earthly existence, and you can also communicate with yourself or other consciousnesses with these floaters.
Okay, I'm freaking out. I just saw a video about this the other day, and I was like, oh, that's never happened to me, but I believe it, whatever. So, you know, like the little theory about how, I don't even know, we have different timelines and such. So, I bought a sun and moon, these earrings, okay? These earrings. And just to show you, because I do have another pair of sun and moon earrings. They're over here, sun and moon. Tell me why. And by the way, this one's broken. What the fuck? Where did that come from? And it's also broken. What the fuck?
There's a crazy theory that no nuclear weapon was ever dropped in the history of humanity, and that nuclear weapons don't actually exist. Now, I know this sounds pretty crazy, especially when you're looking at a nuclear blast right behind me, but there's some validity to this theory. The
Camera's
first thing
fine.
is that if you actually look at the nuclear test footage, the Nuketown test
Little
footage,
shake.
it looks really weird. All the houses look very poorly constructed.
Camera's okay.
All of the dust coming up and then suddenly it getting blown to smithereens. It almost looks like CGI or some sort of Hollywood production. Not only that, but all of the cameras seem to be perfectly fine. They must be the most powerful cameras on Earth. And another thing, if you go to Hiroshima, you can see that it is a thriving city. Same with Nagasaki. But what about all of the radioactive nuclear fallout that's supposed to be there for decades and even hundreds of years? You can actually tour Chernobyl. There's vegetation growing everywhere. It's perfectly fine. So where is the radioactive fallout? What actually happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? My theory is that it was actually just a bunch of series of firebombings, because the United States literally bombed Japan back into the Stone Age. So if you look at the aftermath of the Tokyo firebombing, it actually looks just like the aftermath of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki nuclear bomb. This is Tokyo. Notice how there are still buildings standing. Some things are burnt down, other things aren't, because they carpet bomb. They just drop a bunch of bombs as they fly by. This is the aftermath of Hiroshima. So if there was actually a nuclear blast, wouldn't everything be completely obliterated? There would be nothing standing if atomic bombs actually exist. And the entire theory of an atomic bomb doesn't even scientifically make any sense. Do we have the power of God to change the fabric of reality? To split atoms? I made this video entirely for entertainment purposes only.
You know, my theory is I got a comment the other day saying you're an idiot if you think there's no in, those bombs. Go look at Japan, right? Ask them if it's real. But my theory is somebody would have got their hands on one by now. Somebody it would have ended up in the wrong person's hands by now, right? I mean, we all think 9/11 is an inside job. They went to that level. You don't think there's a rogue? We're going to see a rogue CIA agent that did something to a DEA agent to cover their ass. Like, you don't think they would put one of those things in somebody organization's hands, right? Or you don't think they got enough money to buy one from somebody that just sells them? Because regular people sell. If you ever seen War Dogs and all those, regular people sell these weapons, contracts, and all that. I think it would have happened by now. It would have happened by now. It would have gotten in the wrong person's hands by now if they were legit.
Good morning, TikTok. You guys want to learn something cool today? Well, I'll put you on game. Did you know, which I have a bird feeder right out front, and it's filled with sunflower seeds right now. But did you know that, and this is legit, if you feed birds, like such say if you have a bird feeder or whatnot, they will actually, over time, look out for your house. Now, if you're keen and you pay attention and you listen, sounds crazy, but look it up. Dead fucking serious. The birds will start hanging out more frequently around your home, and they will alert you if there's a stranger in your yard or a cat or a crow. Like, not that I care about hawks in the area, but they will let you know if something ain't right in your area. Yeah. Crows will actually alert you if unfamiliar people are in your yard. There are even some species of birds
Crows are very smart
that will mob/attack threats that they consider in their territory.
Now, if I lived in the country, I would definitely have bird feeders out there because I love birds. I love different colored birds. But where I'm at, it's pigeons. And we know about the pigeons. I don't want no damn feds in my front yard. You know what I mean?
vault in Svalbard where every seed in the entire planet is inside in case something happens to the world. I guess they think it's not going to happen here. So there it is. I wonder what's going on. There's cameras all over it. Look at that. What is all that about? Dude, how cool. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault is the largest safety backup of the world's crop diversity. There's no public access to the seed vault. Door's locked.
That's a viral clip right there.
There's a
Like, it's just right there, not guarded or anything. It's just a lock on there. Like, anybody can go in there, and that's kind of scary, right? The all the seeds left in the world are gonna go in there, and a regular person can just go and breach it.
chance that you may not come back from a marijuana-induced psychosis?
Let me give you an example that we
say
have
hi? Come on.
had with
Come
a
here.
number of
You
patients.
haven't been on here in a long
So
time.
kids go off
Come
to
here.
college in the fall. They come home at Thanksgiving and they are in full blown psychoses. So they're paranoid. In one case, we sent a doctor out who literally put a stethoscope in and listened in the walls for the for the patient, because the patient swore that there were people in the walls or in the vents, listening to them. All of the different symptoms of psychoses, and the parents, they don't have any idea what to do. What we determine is that they were smoking marijuana, very, very high THC marijuana, number of times a day. In one case, the parents said almost constantly is what they were talking about. And takes a couple of months. But up till now, we've been able to get every one of these patients back. But studies show that, there have been people that don't come back from the psychoses.
Sounds like that guy was smoking PCP, not weed.
Well, yeah, it's terrifying.
The last,
That's what they told me, right? It was laced, because I went through a bunch of psychosis smoking marijuana, and it took a couple months, right? I didn't smoke for a long time. I smoked from like maybe September, and by December, I was losing my mind every time I smoked, and I kept doing it, right? So I can see how it can be hard to come back, because it was hard for me, right? When I wasn't smoking or high, I was still in psychosis for, man, maybe over half a year. Like, I was like high all the time, feeling that paranoia, just nonstop. Wake up paranoia, go to sleep paranoia. And then eventually, I just got out of it. But man, I can see how you can get high and never come down.
Narc. That's essentially the story of Kiki Camarena.
Yeah, it's the story of Kiki Camarena, who was kidnapped and tortured to death in Mexico. I'm convinced that Kiki Camarena was killed because he stumbled across the CIA's cocaine trafficking operation, where they were moving coke from Colombia to Mexico and then into the U.S. and then using that money to illegally fund the Contras in Central America. I don't think Kiki Camarena knew what he'd stumbled across.
Do you think you know who killed him?
I think a CIA operative was involved. Let's put it that way. Specifically, a guy by the name of Felix Rodriguez. I think Felix Rodriguez was involved in the abduction and interrogation of Kiki Camarena. And then, he was being held captive at a house that was controlled by the Guadalajara cartel. And I think that things just got out of hand and they took things too far with the torture.
I just finished watching The Last Narc on, I think it's on Amazon. Very highly recommend that. But that dude, Felix Rodriguez, was in the room. Right, they interviewed people that were in the room, like cops, dirty cops from Mexico, not California. And then at the end, they said there was an unknown person that they're gonna not name because they don't want him. He's still part of the machine, so they can't name him, right? And they were saying that how they made it look, it sounded like it was Kiki's supervisor and all his DEA friends on his team. Like, they all took money, and he was the one that said, "I don't want none of that." And they gave up what he's gonna be wearing, what time he's going to be out of work. They didn't say who it was, but to me, it sounded like it was the supervisor.
Pretty new is super clear now. American government is bought and paid for. We'll listen to the first line in his concession speech in just 1 second. I find it crazy how the president posted this image you see right behind me before anybody even knew who the winner was, or maybe some people did know. His first line in this speech really sums up the whole thing. Here, listen.
All right. Listen, I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrein in Tel Aviv.
Any one person we had in there that voted against what the establishment wanted, guess what? They are all gone now. I think it's really symbolic this happens right before the 250th Golden Era celebration.
I'm gonna be honest. The second I heard the World Health Organization declared the Ebola outbreak in Africa a global health emergency, I knew things wasn't gonna end well. Mind you, this Ebola strain has no approved vaccine. And the thing about Ebola people never forget is how terrifying the symptoms are. You got fevers, vomiting, weakness, bleeding, and that leads to organ failure. This outbreak is taking place in the Democratic Republic of Congo and has already spread to Uganda. Health organizations are saying that this strain is dangerous. This strain of Ebola is rarer and less understood than the strains most people hear about. And again, officials are openly saying that there's no currently approved vaccine specifically for this version. Mind you, there are over 90 deaths so far. And on top of those deaths, there are over 300 cases. They're saying that this outbreak isn't pandemic level, but they're declaring it a global health emergency. So what does that mean? That means that's one step away from being a pandemic. This ain't one of those you catch a cold and you'll be all right type things. This Ebola strain has a 50% mortality rate. And they're also saying that this strain can be spread through bodily fluid. And again, they have no treatment, no cure, no vaccine for this Ebola strain. You have online doctors saying that this thing can get way worse than what it is. You have to understand where this can go if this doesn't get contained. Pay attention.
Have you guys heard about Coco Melon?
Yes.
The way they design it, though?
Yeah.
They put Coco Melon on one screen, and on another screen, they put somebody just doing regular house tasks. Anytime any of the kids looked away from Coco Melon over to the basic house task, they marked it. And they went back and they changed that part of the TV to make it more flashing lights, louder, so it would be more addictive. And that's why whenever parents take away modern day shows, sometimes the kids act out because they crave it.
That is just crazy, right? They had a room full of kids, and every time they looked away, now what are we going to put over there? Flashing, something to catch them, right? Something to make them addicted. Like, that's crazy. Like, I need to make that technology for the K fam over here to get you guys more addicted. That's great. Like, imagine that. That's a whole nother level, y'all. And they do that with slot machines. They do that with our TikToks. They do that with everything, y'all.
Don't recommend Coco Melon. First, the pace. The scenes change really fast. Bright colors, constant motion,
Never showed my
nonstop
kid that.
stimulation on purpose. That kind of rapid fire input trains the young brain to expect high levels of entertainment all the time. And real life, guess what? It's slower. Books are slower. Classrooms are slower. Playtime is slower. And that's because problem solving and critical thinking isn't fast. Second, attention. When kids get used to super fast, high stimulation content, it can make it harder for them to focus on things that don't move or change every 2 seconds, like listening, learning, and independent play. And third, I call it the can't turn it off effect. And you know what I'm talking about. One episode turns into 5. Meltdowns when it's time to stop. And that's not you failing. That's how this content is designed. Here's what I suggest instead. Slower paced shows, simple animation, things that leave space for thinking, not just consuming. And honestly, boredom is not the enemy. It's where imagination starts.
So if you die in a home that's locked with animals, those animals will eat you really fast, especially a cat. Dogs will hold out until they have nothing left to eat, but a cat will remove your head in 24 hours. I'm talking literally hair on the floor, no head, nibbling into their chest.
Even cats that were loved by their owners, or is it just cats?
No, they're absolutely feeding on you. I don't care how much you love that cat and that cat loved you, he's gonna eat you. And, you know, sometimes we get to cases where there's, you can tell that the cat or dog had been nibbling. You know, it might be on the face or the cheek or so, the toes. But then sometimes it's unbelievable. One of my first cases, I just never imagined that they could do that much damage. You know, smaller dogs. Now a lab won't. The labs for some reason don't eat their owners, you know, unless they're locked in.
I
for
love
months.
yellow
I guess
labs.
they would, but I find it more weenie dogs, small dogs, and cats. Cats don't.
Just
They don't
showed you
wait.
mine.
You know, it's like a coon ass around a barbecue pit, a Cajun, I should say,
Yeah.
around a barbecue pit. They smell that odor and they start nibbling. So
Yeah. People start
Next
snacking
time you
early. They
pet
want an
your-
appetizer.
Next
bro.
time you petting your cat, just know that when you die, he's gonna eat you.
He's gonna pet you back with his teeth.
Absolutely.
Shouts out to all my old school cave fam. You haven't seen my dogs in a long time. We don't let them upstairs. I got a beagle, and then my little chihuahua that was right here. She's been with me from day one, y'all. She's like 10. She's 10 years old. You know, hyper as hell, healthy, never been sick a day in her life. Her breath stinks, but you guys got to see my little Joy. Boone, I don't know. He's outside doing something, barking at the world.
3,700. What do you think the significance is of that number? That's how many people have gone missing since the coverage of Nancy Guthrie. Yes, 43,700. 2,300 people a day on average go missing in the United States. Times 19 days, 43,700. I believe the Guthrie family deserves every bit of justice that we're looking for. I believe they deserve to get answers for their mom, 150%. But I also have that moral compass that also leads me to the path of, what about the other 43,699 people that have gone missing in the last 19 days? Now, I'm not saying we have to shy away from this. I'm not saying that. I've already said the Guthrie family deserves justice of this 150%. But there's also the 43,699 other families that share the same grief as the Guthrie family, shares the same anxiety, frustration, nervousness, fear, looking for their mom. Those other 43,699 people, they're not getting that level of coverage. And as I said, the Guthrie family is extremely fortunate that Savannah has such a big platform, big stage. I agree, and I'm all for it. But remember, let's humanize this. It's not just about Nancy Guthrie. It's also about the other 43,700 people that have gone missing since the day Nancy went missing. And nobody's talking about them.
Man, I called it. I knew she was going to get her own show or something. I just knew it. I knew something big was going to come from this. And look she got her own game show. Now, when does a talk show afternoon host ever get their own game show, right? It's usually a comedian, a B-list celebrity, something like that gets that. She got that. I called it. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Click on this video over here if you guys want to keep going down that rabbit hole. YouTube's going to recommend a video to you. I don't know what it's going to be, but they're going to recommend something. Go check it out. See what it is. Later.